39-year-old Matthew Sullivan. He died of an accidental drug overdose in 2024, just weeks before he was scheduled to be interviewed by lawmakers about UFOs. Sullivan was reportedly a colleague of David Grusch. Grusch is the former Air Force intelligence officer turned whistleblower, and Grusch claims the U.S. government has a top-secret program working to reverse engineer spacecraft of non-human origin. During his first network television interview right here on this show, Grusch told me that he felt he was being threatened for blowing the whistle.
I had some unique things happen in my personal life that, were some of the causal factors for me to file a complaint, some things that my wife and I had noticed, some intimidation.
So is it possible that that's what happened to Matthew Sullivan? And what about the other missing scientists who held high security clearances and who all either died or mysteriously disappeared? Our next guests have some unique insight. Joining us is University of Albany physics professor Matthew Szydagis. He's a physicist focused on dark matter and UFO research. Also joining us is veteran television producer and author Miguel Sancho. His new book, Evidence of the Extraordinary, takes readers inside UFO investigations. Great to have you both with us. Miguel, I'm going to start with you because you just spoke with David Grusch about the Matthew Sullivan case. David Grusch knew Matthew Sullivan. Does he think anything fishy happened here, that this should be investigated?
Well, it's good to see you, and thank you so much for having me. I know David Grusch professionally. We're not best of friends, but we've stayed in touch ever since he gave that interview to NewsNation through Ross Coulthart, as you know. And I reached out to him today and just had a relatively brief chat asking him, if anything, what he knows about Matthew Sullivan. He confirmed that they were close friends. There's been, as you know, some discussion about exactly what the nature and extent of their relationship was. But he said he is being very cautious, as is his nature. He's a very cautious, very discreet, and I would say very honorable man. And he's waiting for the right time to go public with what he knows about the relationship and what he thinks about Mr. Sullivan's untimely death. He did say that in terms of connections to other cases on this list, he doesn't see an immediate connection with all the other dozen or so tragic disappearances and deaths, but he does find the McCaslin case, which is kind of the granddaddy of
General McCaslin, yeah. He is very mysterious.
He considered that very concerning. And as we go through these, I think it's very important to kind of take them in isolation before stretching and embracing some overarching grand unified theory of everything. Many things can be true, as you often say. Some of them can be accidental, some of them can be suicides, some of them could be foul play that has nothing to do with UFOs or conspiracies. Right. Some of them could have foul play involved with foreign adversaries.
Matthew, what's your take on it all? I mean, obviously, we've got members of Congress who've been very concerned, who've come on this show and talked about the fact that they want this investigated. The FBI, in fact, and NASA are investigating. President Trump has called for an investigation. Do you think, I mean, some of these people on this list, clearly, it doesn't look like they were part of some conspiracy, but others, to Miguel's point, General McCaslin especially, these are very mysterious.
Yes, I think David Grusch said it very well, as Miguel just quoted, that I think there's a lot of nuance here where there could be a there on very particular cases, but it's also possible that there's sometimes conflation as well. So I think it's important to realize that there may be some cases where it's a much stronger possibility that there's some sort of nefarious connection. But we have to be very careful not to conflate all different cases together, right, because there might be different causes.
And Miguel, David Grusch did make it clear, both in my interview with me and in his interview with Ross Coulthart, he had been threatened.
No, and
repeatedly.
Yeah. And his claims were taken seriously enough by the Inspector General of the intelligence community to verify and to legitimize his whistleblower complaint. So he's not just making this up. He's not just sitting in a chair spouting off or fantasizing. And, as we know, there are many cases in which some version of a sinister theory or something
Right.
has indeed have been at least partially true. So even though, grand conspiracy theories require one to believe a stack of, improbable possibilities. I mean, just look what's the recent most thinking about Havana syndrome, which we were told, for years was
nothing.
A mass psychosis, right? Well, just in the recent months.
Now it looks like it's something.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
And people are taking it seriously and no longer writing it off as it was just in people's heads.
By the way, it was the government who was saying it was nothing for many, many years, and it's now the government admitting, at least some members, we had it wrong. There is something to the Havana syndrome. Matthew, you are an expert on UFOs and physics. You have gone on the record taking on skeptics and saying, for example, the famous video of from 2004, the Nimitz Tic Tac video, cannot be debunked, that this is, in fact, not some man-made analogy or natural weather phenomenon. You think this is suspicious as an unidentified flying object. Why?
That's because there have been intensive studies made, so including by some of my colleagues like Professor Kevin Knuth at University of Albany. He co-authored a paper with Robert Powell and Peter Reale of the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies and studied very carefully not just that case, but several similar cases, and came to the conclusion that even with errors and uncertainties, that there were speeds and accelerations that were just not possible technologically. And many other researchers have also used the software produced by people like Mick West, who does a very good job and does expose a lot of problems, but I don't think he's right about this situation. There are other researchers besides those I just named, like there's Yannick Pengs and Marek von Rennenkampf, who have published articles very respectfully and carefully addressing points of skeptics like Mick West that they have raised rightfully and been able to show that you can't explain it away as, airplane, jets, or known technology.
And is it just the Nimitz Tic Tac video, or do you think other videos could be for real as well?
Yeah, I think it's not just the Nimitz Tic Tac, but also the Go Fast and the gimbal. And these are often conflated. They happen different years, different locations, but these are all separate incidences that all on their own are separately compelling, especially when you consider how during congressional hearings, it has been stated that they're not explained. And so it seems strange to me that one or two skeptics or debunkers would be able to know better than all of the government scientists or scientists hired by the government or asked by the government. That just is possible, but that seems unlikely to me.
Yeah. All right. And Miguel, you've got this new book out. It's called Evidence of the Extraordinary. It's out today, exploring UFOs using evidence-based analysis. Give me the 10-second elevator pitch. What's evidence-based analysis, and something that, there's a great debate and argument over whether or not it exists?
It's just approaching, the book is based on one of the shows that I've produced for the History Channel for years that, puts all these videos through the ringer with experts like credentialed and wonderful physicist Matthew Szydagis, who I've had the pleasure of knowing for years. And basically the premise of the book is just that the traditional understanding of any number of things has been disrupted, and the game has changed so many times that in general we need to be more hospitable to radical hypotheses because they happen.
Yeah, you don't have to believe everything and be gullible, but you can also question everything and not just take as verbatim and gospel the latest statement from our government. Matthew Szydagis, Miguel Sancho, thank you both so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.